Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. It is me, LaurenNicole, and I am back at it with another lock chat for you guys. So, it's been a really good New Year so far for me. I hope it's been well for you all as well. Just, trying to still maintain and live life like always before. I don't really do New Year's resolutions. I feel like if there's something I need to change about myself, I should change it immediately. So, yeah, nothing new as far as that for me, but I hope you guys are all making progress to do better in 2022 than you did in 2021. Because, yeah, it was a horrible past couple of years for all of us, and just praying that this year is not that bad. So far, it's been okay, though, so yeah. But anyway, I'm not going to ramble. There was just some things I wanted to talk about because I feel like one of the things that I've noticed more so than anything is people with locks. Of course, this is a lock chat video. People with locks starting them, but they had no idea what they were thinking when they started them, or, didn't really know how to go about starting their lock journey. I know for myself, when I started my locks back in April of 2017, there was a lot of things that I had no idea about. Like, no idea. When I just told y'all, I literally came home and just had an epiphany that I was ready to start my locks. Had very, very little knowledge about locks. Just knew what I saw that I liked, and knew that I also resonated with a lot of people that were on the journey and just explaining their growth throughout the journey. So that was really all I knew, and I knew I was on a journey of growth, spiritually, mentally, physically, all that type of stuff. And I just kind of started my locks just with what I knew, which was not a lot, what I knew. But they came out great to me. I love my locks. There was times when I was a little bit worried, but I'm going to tap into all that, because pretty much what this video is about is how to know how to start your locks for what works best for you. So as we all know, there's so many different types of locks that you can get, that you can grow. So many types of locks, especially over this past couple of years or so. I feel like locks have really started trending and really became more of a mainstream, well, not mainstream, depending on the look, I guess. Certain lock looks are mainstream, but locks in general just became very, very much more popular than they used to be even 5-10 years ago. They've just, all of a sudden, there's been a surge of people who want locks, and some people will go the natural journeys and coil up or 2-strand twist up, and some people are going to go the quick route, which is instant locks, lock extensions, all that type of stuff. And I've already done a video on how I feel about lock extensions, and I feel like my opinion is probably still the same from then. So if you haven't watched that video, after you watch this video, go back and look at that. But I gave my opinion on lock extensions and faux locks and all that type of stuff, and to each its own. But I'm very, very proud of my hair, and when people ask me, is my shit fake, I'm just like, what? People just ain't used to seeing black folks with long hair, and I get it. We make any style come to reality, and I ain't got no problem with people who want to skip a few steps in the journey. But us folks who've actually gone through it all and are getting asked constantly, is our hair real? Man, I don't like that. I don't like that. My hair is very, very real, homegrown. I went through a whole journey that I've shared. So yeah, I don't like that. But this video is here to let you guys know like the different ways you can start your locks and how to know how many locks or whatever, the density of your locks, whatever you should start with to make sure that you keep your locks going. So a lot of people, I feel like, comb their locks out or get rid of their locks because they just started off with zero knowledge on locks, and they did not know the parting, the sizings, whatever they should do. So in this video, I just really want to touch bases with what, based off of how you live your life and what look you're going for, what you should go for. So I feel like, you know, I have thick locks, and I'm going to start with my own journey first and then dabble into people who might want other sizes and stuff. But I have thicker locks. I started my locks knowing that I wanted thick locks. When I was a loose natural, I watched so many lock videos, and all the locks that resonated with me were thicker locks, more or less maintained locks, I should say. I knew I was going to either freeform or semi-freeform my hair. I just knew that was going to be what it was, and I knew that I wanted thick locks. So that's why, for those of you who don't know, I have 54, well, maybe like I've combined a couple, so maybe like 52, yeah, maybe like 52 locks. And at the time when I locked my hair, I didn't even know anything about like lock numbers, and I didn't feel like lock numbers, lock count was a thing. But it really doesn't make that big of a deal, but it does kind of, because there are certain numbers to kind of base it off of. Like, I feel like if you have thick locks, if you're going for a thick lock set, you're probably gonna have like 70 or less locks. And that's not set in stone. Of course, it's based off of your own density and thickness and all that type of stuff. But I feel like most people that have thick locks have like 70 or less. I have, like I said, around 50, 52, 54. But I remember when I was a loose natural, my hair is a finer texture and it's not the thickest. It's not thin, but it's not thick. I have a very average density of hair. So 54 was cool for me, whereas I see some people who might have like 30 or 40 locks and have a head full of hair. I know mine wouldn't have blossomed like that because of the density of my own hair. So you got to keep that in consideration. I know for myself, like if I would have put a million gajillion locks in my hair, it would have been so much maintenance. But I also know if I would have done like 20 or 30 locks, it wouldn't have turned out right. And I was honestly a little scared in my starter lock stages, because I noticed that, you know, throughout the lock journey, your hair shortens up, condenses, does all that type of stuff. And a lot of times in my early stages, I questioned, did I do enough locks? But I just had to remember, I set these locks in my head strategically based off of my density in my thin areas and my thick areas, and the loose curl areas versus the tight curl areas. So I literally place these locks in my head strategically. And that's the one thing about getting to know your hair. But yeah, so I knew I did all that, and that's how my locks came out the way they did. This is how they came out. Now, if you are somebody who wants to do a lot of styling and all that type of stuff, you might want to go for more of a smaller traditional size lock. And if you are somebody who wants extremely low maintenance and doesn't want to have to do anything to their hair, you might want to go with a thicker lock. But again, it all depends on your hair texture and your density. I usually recommend a head full, like if somebody wants like 100, 200 locks, I'll let you know, if you want that many locks, you have to be prepared to come to the loctician very frequently to get your hair redone, because you can't semi-freeform. Like, I'm a semi-freeformer. You cannot semi-freeform if you have hundreds of locks on your head, because you will experience thinning. I have seen it firsthand with clients who have neglected their locks for months and months and months, but they have, you know, skinny locks, 100, 200 locks on their head, and they're thinning out because they didn't make frequent trips to the loctician. Now, somebody with thicker locks can get away with that because the root has more sturdiness to it. The root is fuller, so you can get away with it a little more. But semi-freeforming, if you have tiny locks, that is just not even, I wouldn't recommend it at all. I'm telling you, I've seen so many people with locks thinning and breaking and snapping, and that's not normal. That's not normal. But if you have tiny locks, you need to invest in a good loctician, because that's the only way you can keep it going healthy. So yeah, there's that. And then there are people who freeform, and you know, I love freeform locks. I'm a semi-freeformer because I wasn't all the way about that life, but I do love freeform locks, and I think that's probably the best way to just be totally carefree. But again, that also depends on your texture. I don't know. I've seen some people with finer hair freeform and all that type of stuff, but I do think it's easier to freeform when you have a thicker, coarser texture of hair. I do. So, Gucci, please don't act up in this video. Here she go. I will close the blind. But yeah, so there's that. And then how to start your locks. I always recommend 2-strand twist for starting locks, especially if you start with longer hair, because a lot of people don't realize when they start their locks. They always say, oh, I want my hair to get this length before I lock up, without realizing your hair is going to shrink. Like, a good 50% of your length is going to shrink in your first months. And the longer your hair is, the longer it takes to lock. So that's like, there's no sense in waiting till your hair gets long for it to lock, because your hair is going to shrink. My hair, the length that it is now, my natural hair might have been just a little bit shorter than this when I started my lock journey, but it shrunk up, which I will insert photos. It shrunk up to here, because your hair is going to shrink, because that's the locking process. And I feel like that's something that so many people just don't understand. It is a locking process. Like, your hair has to, the way a lock is matted up hair, right? It's matted up hair in a section. And for the hair to tighten up and be this just condensed, your hair has to shrink. Your hair has to shrink, and you are not going to maintain your length. If you think you're going to maintain your length, you're on the wrong journey. I'm telling you, you are going to lose your length like crazy. And so I feel like it's better, almost people who start off with short hair, they have the easiest journeys in my opinion, because it does not take that long for the hair to lock up the shaft. If you start with this much hair, it doesn't take that long for the hair to lock completely up the shaft, whereas if you start with this much hair, it's a long process of budding and locking and shrinking and frizz, and I feel like a lot of people don't realize that. So that's another thing to consider. And yes, I do recommend 2-strand twists. The only time I do coils on people is if they come and they have more of a kinkier, like type 4 hair, and it's short. Like, say their hair is like just a few inches, then I'll go ahead and coil it. If it's too short to 2-strand twist, I'll coil it. But I prefer 2-strand twist because I feel like it just holds better. You have less unraveling, especially if you're an active person that does sports or anything like that, just sweats, goes to the gym. If you're more of an active person, I definitely recommend 2-strand twist over coils. There's also braid locks and interlocks, but I feel like I'm not really a fan of interlocking. I had interlocked a couple of locks like early in my journey. I even have a video on it, but when I interlocked them, I really didn't even know what I was doing. I don't even know where they are now, but I don't even know. But I don't recommend interlocking unless you have tiny, tiny locks like sister locks or micro locks. Then yes, definitely interlock. But on a traditional or a thicker size lock, I don't think you should interlock. I just feel like it interrupts the natural process. Curls is a spiral, and when you start putting knots into it, like, you're interrupting the natural locking process. So Yeah, 2-strand twist and coils is the best methods that I recommend to start locks with, because yeah, your hair is just following its natural spiral consistency. So I think that was all I wanted to say. I can't really think of anything else. I just wanted to come on and do this video because, like I said, now that locks are getting so popular, so many people are wanting to start them with no idea what they're even getting themselves into. And when we say it's a journey, it is a journey. Of course, you can go the faux lock route or the lock extension route or the instant locking route. That is your business. It is fine. But if you are looking for a head full of organic locks, like what you're seeing from people you might be following for years on their journey, just know we didn't take no shortcuts. There was no shortcuts. It was all the authentic route. So that is all I have to say, and I hope it helps somebody. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments and I will answer them. But until then, I will catch you guys in the next lock video. You guys have a wonderful day. See you next time.